Hello, Spark fans, and welcome to 2023. So, this was meant to be a roundup of 2022 that I did right at the end of the last year. But honestly, we were just so busy in December, it was fairly mad. So, I thought I'd kick off this year instead by doing a little bit of a roundup of some of the things we saw happen in 2022, a little bit about advancing analytics in 2022, and how you run a remote-first company and maintain the culture despite being entirely virtual. I want to talk about that for a little bit because we did some interesting things across the year. I want to talk a little bit about just generally the industry. What's kind of gone on? Where are we seeing things in data? What are we expecting from 2023 and kind of where we're at? So that's my plan. Mainly just me talking at you guys, maybe showing one or two little things, but yeah. So, where are we at? So firstly, this whole YouTube thing is, still growing, still continuing. Again, we passed our millionth view a couple of months ago, which is just insane in itself. We've got what, 19 odd thousand subscribers, which is cool, and I appreciate all of you, and I hope you all had a fantastic break. And coming on to that break, so getting back to work, in that first week in January, everyone's catching up, and loads of people are kind of asking, so what's your holiday project? What have you been working on? Have you been teaching yourself a new language? Have you been building a little side project? Have you been researching into something? How did you spend the holiday? And honestly, I did nothing. And that's okay. I spent some time with friends and family. I played a lot of board games. I played a lot of video games. I took some time to de-stress and empty out the clutter of the mind. And there needs to be time for that. So if you spent the holidays absolutely digging in some tech, getting into some stuff, doing Advent of Code, if you've never come across Advent of Code, really love it. It is a annual project where they put out a whole Advent calendar releasing every day throughout December of little coding challenges. And you can do it in any languages. I used to do them in SQL. These days, I tend to do them in Python or on Spark most of the time. And that's how I used to spend a lot of my downtime and my evenings and weekends, just skilling up and training and hustling and all that kind of stuff. But occasionally, if things are busy, and 2022 was an interesting year. It was the first year that we were out blinking in the sun post-pandemic, or to a weird non-pandemic but still ongoing pandemic, but still. And there was a lot going on. It was a very busy year. So if you need to take some time to actually relax and de-stress, do it. I did. Feel so much better for it. Now, the one thing I did spend the very first day of the holiday, and I got it done on the first day, and then I've chilled out ever since, was finishing off our online training course. Now, that should be releasing as of next week. So we'll be putting out some discount codes, so check out here to get kind of a little discount for being a Spark fan. And we'll be looking for some initial feedback. So we'll be looking to spread it out, get a few people going through it, and then just tell us what you think and what we can improve and how we can kind of build it out. But hold fire on that, coming next week, hopefully, and we'll share more details then. And then, about AA in general, Advancing Analytics, company I run in the UK. We had an interesting year last year. It was a big year. We went from something like 20 people to 40 people. That is a huge amount of growth. Now, that is fantastic. We worked with a good 20 or so clients, ranging from little couple of days coaching engagements to some big training and training lots of their staff and teaching people Spark, through to going in and overhauling the entirety of the analytics in some major US retailer. Massive differences of projects, load of things going on, load of things keeping us entertained, and that's been fantastic. But it's hard having a team that is growing that quickly. Going from a small team where the culture was great and we were all talking to each other and everyone speaks to each other every day, to going to a much bigger team. How do you maintain that? How do you keep that kind of thing? Especially when you're remote and you don't have an office. You can't just all turn up at the office and then all just have a chat around the water cooler and then introduce the new person and walk around the room and introduce them to everybody. How do you do that when you're a remote company and you're growing so quickly? So a few things that we dug into last year. Now, the first one that's been so successful is the idea of having a remote office. I'm a massive fan of this. We do not have a physical office. There's nowhere you can go to in the UK and sit down in the AA office and go, this is their space. I don't have a desk anywhere aside from my home. So how do you do that? How do you build that team culture? How do you get it to the point when people actually know each other and have in-jokes and how you have like anecdotes and stories and build that relationship between people. So we used to do things like a daily Teams stand-up. Like just every day there'd be an open Teams call and you just hop onto it and chat to whoever's there, eat your breakfast, chatting to people. And that was all right, that worked. But then having a Teams call with 20, 30, 40 people on it, that doesn't work. Find the same people are leading the conversation. You can't break off into smaller conversations naturally. It was good and it worked for us at a size, but it doesn't scale. So we started looking at how do you do virtual offices? How do you do virtual spaces? We're not going into the metaverse, do not worry. But the idea of something similar, being able to just glance and go, oh, look, those people are online. There's a few people having a chat over there. Oh, there's people working on a project over there. I'll go and say hello and sort of see if it's all right if I join those. That kind of natural interaction, we were looking for a way to replicate. So we came across a thing called Gather. And we've been, we did a little trial of it and we had a little template office and that was quite nice. And we're like, okay, we need to make this our home. We need to make this actually, this is where advancing analytics live. This is where we do all of our stuff. So we spent a little while designing and building our own virtual office scape. And it was a really funny learning experience because when designing the first one, I built an office. I was like, right, okay, this needs to be a hexagon because everything we do is hexagons. And then we built it, we designed it, we tried it out, and it was like a gigantic gray block of concrete. And it's like, oh, cool. Well, wait, this is virtual. Why don't we just get something that's open and colorful and grassy? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the AA virtual office. So this is me in my little office, and I'm a little captain's hat. And if we zoom out, you can see kind of this is AA World, the AA hub. So everything that's in there. So people have their own little desk. People can colonize somewhere. People can customize their own desks. We've only just moved in, so not that many that are customized just yet. But a little space to make your own. Put a pot plant on it, put a desk down, put some lights down, whatever you're doing. And you can kind of wander around and kind of just go explore the area. There's some social areas. There's just different bits and places you can go and have a look in. You can see we've got various different project areas if we dive in. So if you're doing a little project breakout, we can go around, work over here. No one's claimed this one yet. Little breakout spots. All the way out to, obviously, the boat, because this is our lake house area, because that's how we roll. Now, we found this absolutely incredibly valuable in that I can quickly, at a glance, see who's currently on. I can go and pop by someone's desk and say hello and have a quick chat. People can mark themselves as unavailable, so they're not going to be interrupted while they're working, but there's still a sense of being there and seeing the people around you. Kind of like being in the office by having your headphones on. Tells everyone not to disturb you, but you at least are there surrounded by people. You're not just locked in a room, not seeing anybody. Yeah, we find it really, really valuable in terms of building that sense of community, especially as this is ours. Every single pixel of this was designed by some of our team who just got really into it and built this thing out and designed the different areas and argued about how the archipelago should look and should we put in some stepping stones or should you have to walk around it? And yeah, it's our home. And we found that valuable as a remote team. Even as a distributed team, if you had a couple of different offices, having a central space that it's not the same as finding someone on Teams and hitting call and sitting there waiting for them to answer. Just wandering past and starts a video call the moment you walk past someone and go, hey, you free for a sec? And you can just have a chat. And they go, no, I'm not busy at the moment. You wander off again. Yeah. So we've been really, really interesting doing that. The other thing you saw, we had like those 4 different clumps of desks. Now, what we actually found was that people were essentially starting to just keep to themselves, and that the engineers talk to the engineers, data scientists talk to the data scientists. People would talk to each other on a project. And this was always a problem for consultancy. You'd have basically, you're on a project with people and you're on a client site just with those people, and you don't speak to anyone else in the rest of the company. You have this kind of like very, very focused bubble of wherever you're currently working. And we're like, we need to change that. We need to find a way to get people to talk to each other, to have a different stripe of social that you can rely on. So we've invented this thing we're calling the clans, the AA clans, with 2 A's, because advancing analytics, that's how we roll. We came up with these different themes, we got the rave riders, the fire dancers, kind of elemental style things. And then we've organized people and said, okay, you guys are in that clan, you guys are in that clan. And then running some competitions going, well, okay, there's a weekly step count, there's a little challenge of playing Rocket League, whatever it happens to be, to try and actually sort of encourage a little bit of friendly competition, but just generally socializing these people you wouldn't necessarily normally talk to because they're not in the direct project that you're working on. We're just trying different things to say, how do you maintain that social element that you'd have naturally in an office. And then obviously, because we are massive nerds, with each of these different clans, we needed a logo. And so we went on Midjourney, which is similar to kind of ChatGPT. It's that kind of image generation AI. And we actually sort of got a real cool logo for each of the different ones based on a group of people walking away from fireballs, dressed in that kind of thing. We can feed that in, generate these clan images. And so we have unique images that describes each of our clans. Yeah. Basically, we got really nerdy about culture and remoteness last year, which has been absolutely fantastic. But yeah, enough about us and AA and all that stuff. If you want to know more about remote, and actually, generally, if you as an audience would want to know more about what we do to run remote companies and how you do that kind of stuff, if you would be interested in some videos about that, let me know down in the comments and, you know, I'll do some videos about it. But yeah, let's talk about the industry. Let's talk about what we saw last year and what we're going to see this year. And there's been a few interesting trends kicking off. So obviously there was a lot last year. Well, I've spoken a lot about some of the trends of hype going on last year. We saw a lot on mesh. We're seeing loads of new words coming out, reverse ETL. We're seeing people trying to do interesting. Everyone's called an engineer these days. There's a lot going on in terms of people trying to make a niche for themselves in this new world of the data industry as it changes and fluxes with all the new technologies coming out. And we're going to see this ongoing, and as the industry evolves and as the industry settles down. It's interesting as we see the settling down. So Lakehouse, the whole approach, it has been this whole thing of hype. I've bought into it quite a lot. I talk a lot about the Lakehouse. We've built our virtual office on the idea of a Lakehouse. Again, there are reasons why I believe it's actually a valid architectural approach as opposed to a flash in the pan bit of hype. But that as an idea is actually going through its own curve of maturity. You know, so when we originally saw the Lakehouse stuff coming out, everyone was really focusing on, is it feasible? Does it work? Does it do the things that I need it to do? And we can see now we're past that point because we're no longer talking about, can I run my queries? Can I put a dashboard on top of it? Can I give it to this kind of user and have them actually use it? We're now talking about the things that we see when we get past that element on the maturity curve. We're talking about governance. We're talking about observability. We're talking about these things that are, we've seen on relational databases, kind of they went through a, can it do the job? Is it fast enough? Can it perform enough? Through to, is it secure enough? Through to, does it enable governance? Does it enable all of these other more mature factors of the data ecosystem? And we're seeing that with the Lakehouse now. We're seeing things like Unity Catalog, various tools coming in to augment it, doing lineage tracking of data enabled on top of this newer technology platform. So it's, yeah, there's things that are coming back into fashion, which we honestly haven't talked about for a few years. But now, again, suddenly this resurgence of interest in master data management. We're seeing a load of people in retail talking about single customer view again. There's loads of interest, obviously, in doing decentralized analytics, but in a controlled, governed way. And again, these things are swings. They come as massive, massive things of popularity. We did it for years, and then it kind of fizzled out because people were dealing with a different technological shift. And as soon as that, the wavy, rocking boat of technology is kind of just stabilized, we go, cool. And these things are still problems that we need to do on this new technology stack. And so we're seeing these things come back again as there's things that we need to worry about and care about. So it's interesting seeing these things go back and forwards. IoT, so the Internet of Things and kind of sensors and measurement and telemetry and stuff. We're seeing some interesting new things coming on. There was a conversation we're having with a company kind of just last month, 2 months ago. I don't know. And they were doing computer vision on a manufacturing line. So they were generating millions of photos of all these different bits and parts of the assembly line in several cameras per machine, just flying through in a constant rate. And they can do that. That's now, they've built the computer vision. They can detect anomalies. They can find out if there's a fault. That is actually fine. What they're dealing with is, but can we get hold of the data fast enough? Can we stream out that amount of data? And it's funny because we talk about streaming out the text data, the logs, the yes or no, is this the information we've got of it. But these days we can stream the pictures. We can actually augment that, and we can build out more advanced systems because of the underlying technology supports that kind of thing. Because having an image in a lake is just an absolutely fine, normal thing. So it's really interesting. There's There's problems that have suddenly become much, much easier because of the pain of the last couple of years of going through this maturing of lake houses on all of the underlying tech. So yeah, interesting times. We're also seeing, I guess, the whole machine learning thing, we're just seeing, yes, we got to a point where everyone had gone out in the data science gold rush and hired a big team of data scientists. So everyone had a data scientist of some kind, and then not that many people were seeing value from it. There's a bit of a, yeah, we got one, but what for? Why? What are they doing? And it's funny, towards the latter half of last year, we suddenly started a real push of not people saying you need data science, not people saying you need machine learning, but actually a load of applied machine learning use cases coming from loads of domains going, hey, look, financial services suddenly exploding in the number of machine learning use cases, and lots of things coming out going, well, here's a load of use cases of how to do this for financial services. Lots of industry aligned machine learning use cases are suddenly exploding onto the scene, and we're seeing lots of them appear. I mean, just taking a look at the Databricks Solution Accelerators, there's now tons of them specifically for financial services, specifically for retail. Retail itself going through this massive shift, recovering from the huge surge to go online as a result of the pandemic. Suddenly having to catch up with that massive influx of demand, meaning there's then this real focus on optimizing supply chain in terms of predicting demand, in terms of actually doing demand forecasting across a geospatial distribution to be able to get supply lines right. Loads of really interesting problems that people have been dealing with for years, but have either suddenly scaled up massively because of trends in the world, or we've now got better ways of doing it because the technology has matured. Yeah, just tons of stuff. Coming into 2023, it's basically just seeing those things that were just exploding onto the scene at the end of last year is now, that's the focus, that's the plan for this year. So there's just new technologies coming out to underline how we work in this stuff. There's looking at all the governance, looking at all the nailing how people actually work in a mature way. Take all the lessons from BI and analytics and things from the past decade and just say, well, a lot of those still apply, but now we've got this new tech platform that we do on top of them. And then actually just changing our focus onto all these different industry specific ones and going, how can we harness this new tech stack, this new set of tools, this new ways of working to solve actual problems? Not just do it for the sake of doing it so you can tick a box and say, yeah, I've done some data science, that means I'm one of the cool kids, but actually go out and solve some real world problems and see real value from it, which I think people forget when you focus too much on the tech. Yeah, so it's an interesting year. Tons and tons of stuff to do, tons of stuff to learn, lots of stuff to, hopefully you're coming back from a holiday rested and re-energized, invigorated, ready to tackle all of this stuff that is going on in the world. So certainly you're going to see more from us. You're going to see more training. There's going to be the training course coming next week, and then a load of our other training that we deliver currently privately for clients. We're going to be recording, getting it online, getting it out there so that it's available for everybody. That is the plan. We're going to see some more things. There's different accelerators that we want to build. We've been investing heavily in Hydrate, which is the advancing analytics solution accelerator for doing lakehouse automation. But there's loads more flavors. There's loads more different challenges. There's loads more domains that we're planning on building and extending and augmenting that to tackle. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year. It's gonna be an exciting year, and I'm hoping you guys are gonna stick around for the journey. So as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you guys are working on, what you guys want to see going forward, any topics you'd like us to cover, what you're excited about in 2023. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. Cheers.